see the head bobbing. You can hear the music. Not a lot of people can hear it, man.
That's good, man.
Yeah. Awesome when people can actually hear it. I had this name trying to get lyrics to it.
Mm.
All right, welcome back to another episode of What's Wrong with Dick, man. And shout out to Senjin Boychuk for that incredible intro-outro music. Find him everywhere on the socials, man. This week on the podcast, I'm pumped, man. We got Kody Overcash. What's going on, buddy?
Yes, sir. Hey, I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you inviting me on here.
Hell yeah. Where's that accent from?
All over the place. I originally came from Kansas, and then I spent like 7 years in Georgia, so I picked up a little bit of dialect there, and then came out to West Texas, and it's evolving as I get older.
Nice. Yeah, you're in West Texas now, or what?
Yeah. I've been in West Texas for, I want to say, about 7 years now, ever since I was 18. So going on my 8th year now.
Nice.
I moved down to Pecos straight out of high school from South Georgia. Lived there for about 4 years, bought my first house in Midland, and just been here ever since.
Fucking love that, dude. Man, I see your content everywhere, man. And like you're a bit of on the educational side of the blue collar oil field TikTok side of things, man. And I like your content. I like where you're going with it. So yeah,
I appreciate it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to lean into, man. I wanted to show younger people and people that don't know that this industry is a real thing, right? Like before Landman, there really wasn't anything outside of Deepwater Horizon to go look at it and be like, oh, I could do this or something. And then every time you see it on the TV, it's always on the rigs and everything. So I was like, man, I got a different take on this. And I want to show people that. And, because all the career days and stuff throughout high school, nobody was ever like, oh, you go work in the oil field, right? It was always like college or you failed, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's not how I see it. And that's not what I've experienced throughout my life. And I want to show people how to do that. And then especially the finance stuff, bumping into people out here and they're like, man, I'm struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. I'm like, man, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. And that's why I wanted to post all this stuff on here.
Hell yeah, man. And like, I think it's needed. I think it's appreciated. You know what I mean? I think it's you. And I don't know if you've seen Tyler Allison's videos up here. Canada, he's actually where I am at, and man, same thing. The educational side of stuff, right? And Tyler is coming on the podcast. We've been working on it, but he's dealing with some stuff legally right now that he might not know about. So we're holding off on that for a little bit. But yeah, man, you're right, dude. There, for me growing up, there was no in high school. There was no. Oh, you can go join the oil field, right? Exactly what you said. It was college or bust, right? I remember, my dad, he owned his own metal roofing business, and he took me to work with him when I was 11. And I believe it was middle of high school, there was this house we were on, and brand new Beamer parked in the driveway. My dad's like, that's a $60,000 car. You're going to have to go to college to afford that. Right. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck, man, and growing up, I always thought, college or the poorhouse, right?
Yeah.
And then, I moved out west, started hearing about the oil and gas industry. And you know what, man? I didn't go to college, but I ain't in the poorhouse. So, yeah.
Funny how that works, isn't it?
Boomers, man. They really sold us a future, didn't they?
Yeah. And that's something I like to preach too is, the game's changed a little bit from, when my grandparents were doing their thing and making a life for themselves, buying a house, having a family, and the game has changed so significantly. Because, I have a conversation with my grandma not too long ago, and I was like, yeah, this is what I'm making down here. This is what I'm investing in. And she's like, oh, you're making plenty to buy a house and have a family. I said, Grandma, it is not the same world today.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. My wife and I were really smart with the money, and we're a single family income right now, or single income family right now, right? We got 2 kids, and I make enough money working that she can stay at home and raise the kids, right? But we gotta be really smart with the money that way, right? We gotta really. You can still make it work. It's difficult at times, but and of course the social media, the money I make off social media helps now towards that. It makes it a little less painful at times, for sure, but. It's hard to do. It's hard to do in this day and age, right? And my dad, man, I was talking about my dad was the only one that worked in the house when we were growing up, but rent was $400. right?
A little different.
Rent was $400, man, and even as I got older, rent was still only $700, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, he definitely they definitely had it a little easier. And then my in-laws, they think I'm crazy for not having my wife work. They're like, oh, you need your wife to work, and or you're sacrificing all this, you're abandoning your family, yada yada yada. And
Yeah.
I'm quite the opposite, man. Like
Yeah, I'm the opposite too, man. I don't like the idea of passing my kids off to government funded schools and all that to go learn. I would much rather, if you're with somebody, hopefully you pick somebody that your morals and values correlate, right? And
yeah,
you're like, man, that's where I want my family to learn from.
yeah.
That's always how I've been. So yeah, 100% get that.
Yeah, man. My wife, my youngest daughter, just started kindergarten this year, right? So
Mhm.
she has more time during the day now, where it's not just constant like mommy, 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 mommy anymore. Now
Yeah,
she's getting a little bit of her sense back, so or self of sense of self, whatever, sense of self.
I get it.
My wife started going to the gym, right? You know what I mean? When my daughter started
Mhm.
school, she's like, well, now I can go to the gym, right? I can work on me a little. She just wants to go back to school and maybe upgrade her courses a little bit for when she does go back to work and
Yep.
whatever it is, 5-6 years. So, and we want to have another baby in there too, right? We're getting up there, so fuck, maybe she won't go back to work for another 15. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, whatever it takes. My
Yeah.
family's first, and there'll be. My wife and I were together for 12 years before we had kids, right? So we've been together
Mhm.
20 years, and we had 12 of them to herself, right? She worked a lot. She put herself through school, and she worked a lot, and there we had a lot of us time
Yeah.
before. 12 years of just us time, right? So now
That's
the
awesome.
last 8 years have been about the kids, right?
Mhm.
And so, my daughter, she's my oldest daughter, she's 8. There's only another 2, 3, 4 years there. But 4 years max before she wants nothing to do with us, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
getting that way now. She doesn't call us to like, oh, I need food or I need a drink. She just gets it herself, right?
Yeah. A little more
My
independent.
youngest daughter, right there with her too, right? She's picking up on that. She's going to get it herself now, right? So there's a lot of independence there now, right? And so yeah,
100%.
my wife's using that time. And yeah, man, the way I always describe it, man, is a lot of these guys, they have big trucks and toys and shit coming out the ass, and they finance the fuck out of their lives. Man, they're like, oh wow, you drive a minivan. Well, yeah, bro, I do. Like I drive a minivan and I live cheaply, because I work away. I sacrifice large chunks of my time away from my family, and it's got to mean something. It's got to have a purpose, right? I'm
Yeah.
not working away just to stay in debt and work here for 30 more years.
Yeah, until you
Yeah,
die in the field, right?
yeah,
That's kind of the mindset a lot of these guys have. I remember my real big like eye-opening moment. I was working flowback with this guy, and I want to say he was probably like late 40s or something. And we're sitting in this little command trailer, right? We're waiting for our next reading, and he's talking about his family, and he's like, man, my wife's going on this vacation. My son's going to college. I just bought my other son his high school car, brand new Mustang. How cool it is, right? He's got his truck, his boat. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, dude, every time I come out here, this dude is here. And I work like a dog, right? Like I have nothing else to be doing. I just want to be at work. So I'm always there. And he's also there. And I asked him, I said, when's the last time you went home? He's like, oh, 6 months. And I was
yeah,
like, you're telling me all this stuff that's going on, and you haven't even been home for your family in 6 months. His family lived in East Texas, and he thought he dropped some wisdom on me, but it was quite the opposite. He said you can either be a really good father or you can be a really good provider. And immediately I was like, dude, no, that's not the life I want to live, right? I was like, there's something wrong with that. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older and I started making more money, I was like, oh, I know what he did. He went and got the big truck. He went and got that brand new Mustang. His wife was just swiping the debit card and the credit card everywhere she went, going on vacation. I was like, and some of that wasn't his fault, but a lot of it was. And that's the situation a lot of these guys find themselves in.
yeah, man,
Yeah.
absolutely. I did the 6 months in at a time for a while, and I did that, and I was home. I spent 20 days at home in 2 years,
Yeah.
and that's hard. And the whole, could either be a really good father or I could be a really good provider. Well, good provider is great. When you go home, you're not mentally capable to be a father at that point, man.
Nope.
Like that
Yeah.
20 days at home in 2 years, I don't want to do nothing but sink into the couch, watch TV, maybe fall asleep while I'm doing it. And I'm miserable, I'm grumpy, and mentally I'm struggling, right? So
100%.
fucking, and that did catch up to me, man. And this past year, man, is when I really started, coming out of that mental fog, right? There was a lot of shit that happened in my childhood, but also I used work to run from it, right?
Yeah.
And eventually you can only run so fast, man. And then it catches up to you, and fucking this year I broke my ankle in 2025. I was at home for 5-6 months, and I had BetterHelp sponsor the podcast, and I got free therapy out of that. And I found out a lot about myself. I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and struggled hard with it. And man, it's finding yourself and healing is anything but peaceful.
Yeah, when you have that time that you can escape to work, you can't. I had the same thing where I got to keep my hands busy, man. I don't like uncomfortable situation. I'm like, I got to go do something. That's why I keep myself so busy. So I 100% understand that when you have that forced reset, they're like, all right, you're going to sit there with yourself for a little bit. That's hard for a lot of guys, and I don't think enough guys ever get that opportunity to get out of that. Right?
You need it.
Put into it and then get out.
We all need it, man. I highly suggest everyone breaks their ankle at one point in time.
Metaphorically, right?
Yeah. Take some time off, man. And go enjoy your family. They're there.
100%.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. You want to provide and have a good life for them, but man, like I'm not bashing anyone that works away or anything like that, and stays gone for a while, but you'll lose part of yourself, and you do, right? And it's
100%.
Yeah,
it's a tough thing to do, and most guys out here are doing it. And the only way to avoid that is people, they love saying how much money isn't important in your life, and it's like, yeah, that's the difference between having to work 6 months straight or going home for your 14 days.
Yeah,
that's the difference. It's just being smart with your money, and I don't think enough people realize that.
100%, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I just went and bought a teen burger from A&W, man. I was like, I'm so hungry, and I have a hard time with those kind of transactions, right?
Yeah, the little ones.
The little ones, they add up, but like for me, it's like, wow, shit, dude, this burger, man, like it's nothing, right? And there was a long time in there too where I wouldn't go to the chocolate. I wouldn't go get a chocolate bar for $1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I gotta make this money work. And that also, sometimes you got to spend a couple bucks too on the other side of that. Sometimes, you're out here so long and you're making the money. You're like, well, shit, I got to spend a couple bucks just to make myself feel something, and that's also a dangerous game. That's where the financing the shit out of your life probably comes from. Like, well, I work away and I sacrifice so much. Well, I want this toy, but like, oh, we're going to bank on tomorrow, and and a lot
it's little things.
Tomorrow might not come, man.
Yeah, and if you let it keep up, right? Like every once in a while, treat yourself, right? Keep your mental up. Make sure that you're out there enjoying yourself. Make sure work's easy for you to go do, right? But $10 a day, $3,650 in a year. That's all it takes. That's all it takes, man.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people don't ever do that math, right? They're fine going to McDonald's and it's $18 by the time you leave for one guy. And then they're like, man, I don't know where all my money went. Yeah, you spent $800 in fast food alone just over the month.
Man. Dude, my wife fucking hates that because sometimes I'll get in a mood and I'll like go down the bank account app. I'll get in there and I'll be like, this. I made this much this month. She's like, can you stop doing that, please? Like she's like, can you just say, hey, maybe don't eat out today? Leave it at that. And like, yeah. And I don't like doing that either, right? Because like usually when I'm doing that is mentally when I'm struggling, and I'm just looking for anything to spiral over, right? And so that's what I choose to do. I choose to go after money, right? It's like, oh, well, shit, I bought this, and man, it's not good. That's money that's never coming back. All you can do is change the future, right? So
and the worst feeling is when you feel like you're working for free, right? Like you're like, oh, I already spent this money, and now I'm out here doing nothing. Basically, I'm not making any progress. I'm not going to ever see it again. I'm just out here. That's the worst feeling.
Every day, dude, man.
I can't even look at that for very long before I'm in a hole, man. I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah. So fucking, you were just on, were you just on Powder Slayer's podcast?
Yeah, I went and did Off the Clock. I want to say 2 or 3 days ago now.
Nice.
We talked for about an hour or so. Dude, he's a cool guy, man.
Powder
We've been
Slayers?
kind of we've been chit-chatting back and forth a little bit through TikTok. But man, he's a cool dude, man.
I was on Powder Slayers podcast. I was episode 1, dude. And you know
Yeah,
what?
it's exciting.
Man, I love that stuff, dude. You know, I'm always down to, be a guest on someone else's podcast. And, I know what it's like to reach out to people and be like, hey, want to be a guest and not get anything back, or, people him and haw. And that's okay. You can him and haw, but I know what it's like, and so I remember, especially starting out, that first little push there was like, fuck me, dude, and if I could just help make his the start of his journey that much easier, man, I'm in.
Go a little bit faster, right? Yeah. And that's, I was telling him, I said, because he was asking about you on the podcast, and I said, man, I feel terrible because you had reached out to me when I first started TikTok, but it was when I was getting so many DMs, and I don't go through my DMs. I have 3,000 of them just sitting in there. And it just got buried. And he reached out to me one day. He's like, man, I just did a Dick Frost podcast. You need to hit him up. I was like, cool. So I hit the message, and your message was sitting in there. I was like, no way, dude. So I just want to say I apologize. Dude, it was like in March or something. It was like when I first started TikTok. I must have had like maybe 20 or 30,000 followers.
It was May.
Yeah, there you go. So.
Yeah, it was May when I reached out to you there. Yeah. Hey, honestly, dude, and I know this, like, messages get lost all the time, right? And that's why, I probably would have circled back around had I remembered, but I was busy, right? In May, I spent May in Ontario. I drove across the country, across Canada and the US to go to my sister's wedding. So
really
sent that message, and then we got lost. But
yeah.
Usually I'm there 2-3 times. I'll find you on every platform that I can. See an email address. See, no matter where you are, I'm gonna be there. I probably sent that message and then just forgot to look other places.
Yeah,
I get it, man. There are messages on my Facebook. Facebook gets lost so easy, dude.
Oh,
I'll go
stuff
on
from years ago, right?
Yeah, man. Oh, dude, there's a guy asking me to help him get into the industry like a year and a half ago that I saw like a couple months ago, and I messaged him back. I'm like, so you still looking? He's like, oh no, man, I moved on. That ship sailed. And I'm like, sorry, I didn't see this, man. Honestly, like, I got a lot of messages like that, and yeah, man, it's
there's so many.
I have my notifications turned off for everything, so
yeah. There's so many. I try to explain that to people. I'm like, dude, if you go through my 3,000 messages, 95% of them are get me a job, put me on, can I get hired with you, what company you work with? And I'm like, I can't go in there and answer all those.
No, through my messages, get me a job, put me on, where you work, send me a dick pic. Can I buy a pair of socks off you? That just happened.
Yeah. What in the world?
Oh, dude, buddy's paying me $100 for a pair of my dirty socks.
Dude, that's what I'm talking about, right? Side income, side hustles.
Buddy paid me. He offered me $100 at first, and I said add a 0 onto the end of that, and he did for a video of a private video of me like saying his name with my dick in my hand, man. Buddy, I'm blown away by this shit. And he gave me like a couple $100 tip on top of that, man. We both gave each other a tip that day, it was fucking, yeah.
Hey, I respect the hustle, man. I ain't never gonna judge nobody,
I know it's weird, bro. I'll be straight up about it. I never thought another growing man could make me blush, but here we are.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So what do you do now in the oil patch? What do you
I'm a pipeline technician. I've been doing this for about 4.5 years now. 2 of it, I was a contractor. I was working with Spartan companies with the company I'm currently hired to. And they basically, it's kind of a funny story how I ended up doing it. I was actually contracted to a gas plant at first. And I showed up after my 2 weeks off, and they were like, what are you doing here? And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is my shift starting. It's Monday. And they were like, no, we released your whole company. And I was like, dude, what? So I called my company. They hadn't heard nothing about it. And turns out it was actually Energy Transfer. They called Spartan in Dallas, which was not my company. And they said, yeah, we're good. Contract's done. Send Kody home. And they were like, dude, first of all, who the hell's Kody? Second of all, what contract are we talking about? So I showed up to work and didn't have a job anymore. And I remember I called my guy And by the time I got home, he had called me back, and I was living in Pecos that time, about an hour and a half away from Midland. And he calls me. He said, "Hey man, you wanna go to Midland?" And I was like, "Not really, but like, what's up there?" And he was like, "Man, we got a contract to do pipeline tech work, and we don't have anybody else, and you got the best resume." He's like, "You have some experience with this," and I was like, "Cool, send me." And in the interview, they're like, "Do you want to live in Midland or Odessa?" And I was like, I'm looking into it. And so that's the reason I got hired, is because I wanted to move, wanted to get local. And I did it for about 2 years. And there were 2 times that, we had a guy quit, and I had to work like 3 months straight, never complained about it, never asked for any less or anything. And after one of those hitches, they were like, "We got a spot for you if you want it." So I've been with the company for about 2.5 years now, operating natural gas compressor stations out here.
Nice, man. How do you like that? Like, what is a pipeline technician? Like, pipeline technician? Is that
Pipeline technician. It's a very odd title for what I do. I really should be called a compressor station operator. It's very similar to like what a lease operator or pumper does. Yeah, but I'm working with compressor stations, right? So we're getting low pressure wet gas is what we call it from production, and we're turning that into high pressure dry gas. My job is to use compressors, chemicals, temperatures to pull the liquids off of that, pressure it up, shoot it over to our gas plant, and then they do the rest of the processing into power plants.
Sounds like
so I'm kind of the middleman.
Time, brothers.
Yeah. So I'm kind of a middleman, right? It's a lot of routines, a lot of preventative maintenance, and just making sure our process is working correctly.
That's pretty cool, man. That's
it's interesting.
I recently found out to be a like a battery operator, like an operator. You only need 3 years oil field experience.
Really?
Really? Up here, anyways. Like
down here, dude, it's graduate high school and have a wrench. That's really all you need.
Dude. So there's this woman, this girl that worked here, right? She worked here at a high school. She's like 21 now. She worked here for like 3 years. Nobody wants to work on a vac truck. Nobody wants to get caked and shit. And she wanted a better life. But she was here for a while, and then her boyfriend, he lives 4 hours away from here, 5 hours away from here, and she 4 hours probably. She wanted to start a life with him, right? They were together for a while, and that she worked here, he worked there, and so fucking San Francisco just got a touchdown. By the way, it's
I forgot the game was on.
Wild card weekend, man.
There we go.
So the Bills won. Bills won not long ago, an hour ago. So she dipped after a while. She found a place, a new plant where she could be a process operator or an operator or whatever. And I'm like, fuck, she doesn't even have any schooling. What the fuck? Mm-hmm. And her mom is our front desk girl, right? And she's like, oh yeah, all you need is 3 years oil field experience. Who knew? Right?
For a battery operator.
Like $15 more an hour. She's on a 7-7 schedule. She's home every night. And I'm sitting there, what? 3 years experience? I'm like, man, I've been doing it all wrong. I'm 16 years in, man. Like, fuck, man, I'm doing it all wrong.
Yeah. Would that be like a lease operator here? Like basically a pumper position?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Or I didn't know how you guys have it set it up. We have large batteries where there's like a lot of processing, hundreds of tanks, and like that's a whole different thing than a lease operator.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's what it would be, like one of your big facilities.
Yeah, she's in like a brand new plant too. So like the iron's pretty nice there too, right? She said
all like, automated.
I messaged her on Snapchat there a few weeks ago, just before Christmas. I'm like, hey, how's the new job going? She's like, fucking boring. She's sitting there watching screens and shit. And I'm like, listen, I'm going to tell you this as a friend, as a coworker, as a guy who respects you, right? Take the boring. Take the boring. 100%. You're making $15 more an hour. You're home every night. You're not working like a stupid amount of days in a row. You're not being covered in chemicals. Take the boring. Right? 100%. Like this is I'll switch you fucking positions right now. Like let's go. Right. And I haven't heard from her since. I talked to her mom. She's like, yeah, she says it's boring, but like she's gonna stay. Right. Yeah. It's just one of those cushy things you get into. You get your foot in the door, you learn how it works. And then, if you don't like that place, you go somewhere else and go work there. Right. And I'm happy for her, right? So that's fucking awesome. She was one of the boys, man. She makes the boys blush, that's for sure.
I love talking about those jobs because that's the side of the industry nobody sees, right? It's not fun. yes, things aren't blowing up all the time, hopefully. You're not on a rig throwing iron around, nobody's sweating covered and stuff. And that's my job, right? Like if you follow me around with a camera, everybody would stop watching that show day one. It is boring. It's like the most exciting part of my day is like calling a coworker or going out to eat. But it pays well. I'm home every day. That workload isn't stressing me out. I'm allowed to do other things, pursue other things. And that's why I try to preach it, because nobody knows about that side. Everybody, they hear about the rig hands, right? They hear about the fracking, all the fun traveling, welding, all that fun stuff. But they don't hear about the lease operators. They don't hear about automation, measurement, I&E. And that's where you make a career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're basically, man, honestly, I applied for another job yesterday to be an air hand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? For the guys like me, I go under air a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And the guy just sits there and monitors me, right? And he told me, we've made a couple videos together over the years. We've seen each other around a lot. We become friends, right? And I asked him, like, what do you need? And he's like, well, most of the guys here have their NCSO. And I'm like, well, fuck, man, I don't have my NCSO. He's like, it's not hard to get, but they also don't need it here. They just have it, right? You come, you work here, we'll put you through the NCSO. You can become a safety hand in fucking not long, right?
Yeah.
So I applied there the other day, man, because I'm getting older, dude. I'm going to be 40 here soon. Working on a vac truck is not where I want to be.
Yeah, that can be hard work.
Yeah, climbing in tanks, dude. I'm feeling it. I feel it after a day of fucking climbing in tanks, man. I become good friends with fucking Tylenol and Advil and energy drink and coffee. Got to keep me going throughout the day now.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's pretty wild. And that's another thing. They're spending your money on energy drinks, man. I'm like, fuck, those things are $5 a pop, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and they try to get you, right, like 2 for $6 or something. It's still $3 per drink. You burn through one a day. Yeah,
3 for $9 at the gas station, right? So like, I was pretty bad. I was going pretty hard at them there last year, dude. I'd have one a day. I'd buy a case, right? And then it's $25 or whatever it is, $30 for 12 or something like that. And yeah, you do the math on that. Even that's stupid, but like. I was going hard on them. I only do one a day, right? Mm-hmm. By the time I was finished that case, it was time to go home for days off, right? Or I'd buy another case and be like, okay, when this case is done, then I go home.
Yep.
Okay? And now I'm down to one a week, maybe, right? Just as needed, right?
Yeah, that's not a bad spot to be.
And I'm not just drinking it for no reason during the day either, right?
Yep.
I'm drinking it after I've had a sandwich and a bottle of water, and then I'm getting ready to jump into a tank. Just before I jump into the tank, I'll chug it back. It's a science. I've worked it down to a science. If I drink it while I'm sitting there, it's wasted energy, right?
Yeah.
And I drink it just before I go in. Well, now that energy has pathways.
Meaning, purpose. Yeah.
Purpose. So, I'm going to either spend $5 a drink for no reason, or it's going to have a purpose, and I'm going to spend $5 every week, maybe.
Yeah, those things are a little spooky. I used to, when I was on sand management, I was working nights. I would drink them pretty often, maybe one every couple of days or something. And when I started this job, one of those times I worked 3 months straight was because when we first got hired, I got hired on with this other guy. He was my relief, 1414. He started first. And I remember I was packing up to go to Kansas, go see family, and the boss called me. And I was like, okay, this is weird. It's the other dude's first night. And he calls me and he goes, you ready to rock? And I was like, no, not really. I was like, I'm going to Kansas, but what's up? And he's like, oh, we got to fire the other guy. He was drinking too many energy drinks and actually tore the stomach lining and was like bleeding, throwing up blood and everything. And he had to call the ambulance and all this stuff. And they actually ended up firing him. Wow. And so I came in and worked 3 months straight until the next guy. And once I heard about that, I was like, yeah, I got to slow down on these energy drinks.
Yeah, dude, you guys have crazy energy drinks in the U.S. as well. Up here in Canada, we're capped at 180 milligrams of caffeine.
That's it?
Right? Oh, yeah, dude. I was in the U.S. when I went to the U.S. in May. My wife and I, we found this. One of my favorite energy drinks is Rainbow Sherbet. Right?
I love those. Yep.
Yeah, but you guys have a flavor that's exclusive to the U.S. It's Rain Tropical Storm.
Okay.
And Tropical Storm, my wife and I discovered it, and we're like, whoa, right? We split it in half. We do that a lot. We split the drink in half, and we, but in your brain, it's like, well, I'm only getting half the problem, right? You're taking, so fucking, we look at the back, it's 300 milligrams of caffeine. I'm like, no way, right? Like, so we try and we're driving 70 hours, right? We're like, it was good. It helped keep us going and whatnot. We went to, where did we go to? We went to Idaho. No, yes, Idaho. We went to Idaho in August, and we went to Silverwood Theme Park, and we found a case of them. So we were like, pick it up, let's go, right? So I brought some back to work with me, and in September I took one. We usually share, right? And this time I drank it to myself, right? I got halfway through the can, I could see my heart beating through my coveralls, right? I'm like, oh my god, and like I'm just ramped up and ready to go. My coworker's like, you good? And I'm like, I'm sweating, right? And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, man, I just had an energy drink. And he's like, yeah, I can tell. Right?
Yeah.
It takes me like 3 hours to do. I did in 45 minutes, right? But it freaked me out. I only drank half the can and I chucked the rest. I'm like, I'm not touching that, right? We got like 3/4 of the case still at home, and I'm like, that's only for sharing and on special occasions.
Yeah, and people don't, like, so many people down here, like they do that every day, multiple times a day, and they don't realize how addicting that is. It's like, because you have your huge high.
Yep.
Everything's ramped up, and then everything wants to come down, and they hit it with another one.
Yep.
And then they wonder why they're so exhausted they can't get through their day without one. And it's like, you creating an addiction with that. Yeah. And it's a crazy amount of caffeine. But that's what a lot of the substances, most blue collar people do, right? The Zins, the dipping, all that fun stuff. That's all it is, right? You're just getting ramped up on this high.
Did you know the Zins, 1 out of every 2 people that use Zin use it anally? Rectally.
No way.
Yeah, dude. I didn't know
1 out of every 2?
1 out of every 2 people. You know where I got that stat from? So Theo Vaughn had Tucker Carlson on his podcast, and Tucker Carlson said some shit about Zin like a few months, like maybe a year ago or whatever. And Zin came out against him and was like, what the fuck? Right? Like, what the fuck? Right? And it had nothing to do with the rectal shit. But apparently nicotine's actually good for you, right? Despite
in certain amounts,
other shit that is in a cigarette that's bad for you. Yeah. But nicotine's good for you, right? And so Tucker Carlson said, once Zin came at me, I had no interest in it. But once Zin came at me, I started my own pouch, my own nicotine pouch, just to say fuck you to them, right? And he's like, here's a fun stat. Anyone that does a nicotine pouch, 1 out of every 2 people, so half of everyone that does it, uses it rectally.
What?
Yeah.
I got a couple cousins that do it. I'm going to have to sit down and have some conversations with them. Because statistically,
what? Hey,
you eyeballing them.
Hey, bend over a sec. I got a flashlight. And Dr. Carlson said, some people lose track of how many they have up there, so they shove another one up, right?
There's no way, man.
Dude, I'd be worried about pooping it out, I'd be like sitting on the toilet. What the fuck is that, Like, yeah, that's fucked up, man. But apparently you feel the effects of it even more, right? It's like when you put alcohol up your ass, right? You get drunk quicker.
Yeah, I just try to stay away from all that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. The only thing going up my ass is my wife's tongue and her fingers, right? Like, that's the only thing that goes in there. Once in a while, mine too. But, like, it's, nothing else goes in there.
Yeah. I hear you, man.
Yeah. Not married, no kids?
Do what?
Not married, no kids?
No, I'm not married. I do have a stay-at-home girlfriend, but no kids.
A stay-at-home girlfriend?
Yeah, those little creatures are expensive. All of them, the women and the children.
The Eagles just tied it up.
Oh, did they? 7-7?
Oh, they didn't even they missed the kick. They missed the kick. Man, did you watch the Baltimore Ravens versus the Pittsburgh Steelers game the other night?
I did not. I watched very small clips of it, but I was working.
I watched the game, dude, and I mean, I'm just like, the Steelers, they're out. They lost, right? And then at the end of the game, like, Baltimore even they were so cocky, they ran the clock down to 2 seconds. And then they're just like, yeah, we'll kick it now, right? And then we're going to win the game off. But he kicks it, misses, loses out. Like, the Baltimore goes home, the Steelers go to the playoffs, dude. And I'm just like, holy fuck.
And that's it. It's been such a weird year for the NFL. Like all the teams that you're like, these are your big teams.
Yep.
None of them are in the play. I mean, you know, the Eagles are in there, but like the rest of like the Jaguars are in there.
The Jaguars.
It's so weird.
Well, the Jags just lost. The Jags just lost to the Bills. So they're
yeah. Okay. And the Bills you expected, right? I really think it'll be the Bills' year this year.
It's got to be. Josh Allen has to do something with this, with no Patrick Mahomes and no
Lamar,
Lamar Jackson. You know, like it's got to be his year, man. You know, they gotta
be
with that, right? Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. I think the Steelers play tomorrow. I think. I don't quote me on that. Let's see. The Chargers and the Patriots. I can't wait for that game tonight, man. I'm looking.
I think Patriots.
I like May, right? Like,
yeah, I think Patriots there.
Yeah, dude. And tomorrow, Saturday, Monday is the Texans Steelers. Yeah. Yeah, I think the Texans are gonna fucking wipe the field with Aaron Rodgers, dude. I think I watched them play the other day and their game, like they looked unstoppable. They looked like fucking on a mission, right?
Yeah, I was actually I was at the Chiefs Texans game. They're at Arrowhead this season, and it was a tough watch.
What's the cost of an NFL game?
Oh man, I want to say like you can get like so the Arrowhead's a little different, right? Like you have your bottom level, you have your club seats, and then top level. Top level, you can get in there sometimes for less than $100, especially this year. We're kind of bad. And then at the bottom level, you know, it's about 150-ish, and you get right up against the field. For like 150, 170. It's really not too bad. But you know, you going in there, you're paying $20 for a beer and you know, $37 for some nachos.
That's like worse than a hockey game, bro. Like for that price. But hockey games cost a lot more to get into, right? Okay. I live in Edmonton. I'm a big Leaf fan. I'm a big Toronto Maple Leaf guy, and like I either pay my bills or I go see a game. That's like legit, right? And this year, they're coming up this season, next season in the NFL, the Chiefs will be in Seattle for the first time in a while. And I've never been to a game before in Seattle. It's a 10-hour drive, right? 11-hour drive. I'll say 12.
Yeah.
It's a 12-hour drive to Seattle. And my wife's a big KC fan. This predates Taylor Swift, so don't worry about it. But like, yeah, she's a big KC fan, and so we're gonna go to our first football game next season. I'm a big Bills guy, so like in the last 2 years, I spent the last 3 years really getting into football, and I spent the last 2 prior to this one learning which team I might want to cheer for. Right. Yeah. I'm a big fan of just the sport in general, man. In hockey, I have to be invested in the team in order to watch the game. And even then, it's sometimes unwatchable.
Yeah.
NFL, I can be entered on any given night. Right?
Yeah. And you can love the sport. Yeah. I 100% understand that.
The sport's phenomenal. I'm a big fan of certain players. Cam Scatterbo of the Giants, fucking my favorite player in the NFL. He's not going to remember his name in 3 years, but like, fuck no. He's a fucking amazing guy.
Yeah.
But big Bills fan now. Big Bills fan.
Yeah. No, the Bills are good, man. It's one of the few teams in the league that I can watch and enjoy even as a Chiefs fan. I'm one of those people. I enjoy the sport. I have my players here and there. I've always enjoyed the Bills. I've always enjoyed the Chargers, even though they're in our division. When they're playing somebody else, I'll watch it. I really like Justin Herbert. I like what they have going on. But yeah, I've always done that, right? Like throughout my life, I was always watching like Adrian Peterson, right? Jerome Bettis. I was always trying to keep up with these guys from other teams, right? Harrison, the safety from the Vikings that was there not too long ago. I forget his first name. But yeah, even when watching the Chiefs, I was trying to keep up with everybody.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah. Hell yeah. So what made you decide to get into content? Like we were just sitting around one day and you're just like, I want to do a TikTok dance. I want to shake my ass,
No, I can't dance worth a damn, actually. So that was never part of my plans. Originally, I was, just using TikTok for fun. And I got into like some country music content. That's what I was posting at first. I got like 2,000 followers, but with those things like memes and where you're just showing people other content and it's not you, it's not authentic, you don't really get followers. So I had like hundreds of thousands of views on several posts and 2,000 followers.
Yeah.
And I kind of stopped doing it for a little while. And then Tyler Allison, I'd watched him a few times and I was like, oh, I really like this guy. I like that he talks about money. This is something I'm interested in. And then I got on and saw a motivational coach dev. I saw one of his videos and he said, I think the oil fields are the best opportunity for a young person, and just started talking. And I stopped it after that first sentence and I said, that's right. I was like, that's exactly what I did, right? Like I changed my life completely. So I stole that from him. And I said, the oil fields are the best opportunity for a young person. I gave my opinion on it. And it got like 400,000 views off the rip. Like one of my first oil field things. I was like, okay, people are interested in this.
Yeah.
And then, I just started answering the questions. Everybody's like, how do I get in? What company should I apply to? What position? How do I even find these jobs? And I just started answering those questions. And slowly it built up. And now I'm kind of like posting my own stuff instead of just answering questions. But it's been neat. It wasn't ever something that I expected. I always kind of figured nobody wanted to listen to me. I was like, but it's a cool, like I like my side of the industry. I'm not on the rigs or anything. And there's not a lot of people that are out here talking about that.
Man, the rigs are a very, very small part of the oil patch, right? Like
such a small part.
Such a small part. I mean, like you have a rig drill a hole and then frack come in, frack it, and then do the rest. But like that's not the end all be all, right? Like you have, what was it? I think Gord said, like most of the oil field isn't even boots on the ground guys, right?
No.
Most of them are not even blue collar. Right?
Yeah. There's most of your company is built out of management.
Yeah.
It's really weird to see, like we have a team of 9 guys, right? We're actually in the field operating the equipment. Then we have 2 company mechanics. Then you have like 1 I&E guy for a certain region. You got 1 measurement guy for a certain region. And then you have 15 foremen and you have 15 engineers and you got 16 chemical people. And then you got all the people over them, right? And all the pencil pushers and the people calling the moves that probably have never even seen the equipment in the field. They've never been out there. I actually walked a couple engineers and our maintenance schedulers. So these ladies were scheduling all of our preventative maintenance, all of our big projects, and they had never even seen a natural gas compressor.
Yeah.
So they're telling everybody, hey, this can get done in a day. And then they go out there and they're like, oh, these machines are big. And it's like, yeah, that's why they can't get done in a day.
Yeah.
But that's most of your industry.
Well, you were saying earlier, like Landman is such a big hit because, people don't really know, right?
Yes.
But if you said there was not really any other shows. Did you ever watch Blood and Oil?
No, I never did. And I believe Eli's dad was on it. Or Black Gold.
Black Gold.
There's a couple of so his dad was on Black Gold. There's a couple of these really small shows I never went to watch. We all watched the Deepwater Horizon, the Landman.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them, but those documentary style TV shows, I didn't get to watch those.
There's like on Discovery there was License to Drill, right? And they followed rigs around and showed you the actual crews and what they do and what they go through and the hours they put in and what they have to sacrifice, right? And License to Drill, they get out a couple seasons, man. It was a really good show.
That's awesome. Yeah, but that's all of our media, right? It's all the rigs.
Yeah.
When that is less than 1% of our industry. Yeah. And not only that, like they're there for such a small part of the wellhead's life.
Yes. They're there for basically just to drill in. Oh, look what we found. Put some equipment on there, move off, go to the next one. Well, like, the frack. So it was interesting because I heard before, I was talking to a guy. Oh my God. So I heard a guy was, buddy telling me one time he was delivering frack gel. He was telling me, he's like, man, before frack gel, companies would get 60, 65% on returns and they'd be happy. They'd be fucking golden, right? 65%? Fuck yeah, we're good, right? Start using frack gel and companies now get 90 to 95% back. And 3 days of fracking pays for the entire operation from drill down.
Good Lord.
Yeah, man.
There's so much mathematics and science that go into our industry. And I had a comment that I almost responded to the other day where somebody said, well, most guys in the oil field didn't even graduate high school. And I was like, that's
probably shit.
Skewed vision of what we do. Because, I'm out there and I'm messing with chemicals. I'm messing with pressures. I'm running numbers all day. I'm calculating flow rates, chemical injection rates.
Yep.
I could sit here and break down triethylene glycol for you and how we use it in our dehydration system, pulling water off at a molecular level. And I graduated high school.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of very smart guys out here.
There's a lot of guys that came out to the patch to pay off their college and university degrees that never left.
Yep. Yeah. Right? I have 3 coworkers that have degrees, 4-year degrees, and they do not work in a relevant industry. They have their degrees, and now they work in the oil field.
It was a bullshit thing that was planted in our brains from the time we were young. We started the podcast talking about it. Man, it was a bullshit thing that was planted in our brains from the time we were young till the time we graduated. And you're made to feel like a failure if you don't do it, right?
Yeah.
And the only way, the only reason why companies want to see if you went to college or university, the only reason behind it is they want to know that you're able to show up every day for 4 years or more, obey orders, be on time, and listen, right?
Yeah, and be productive,
and that's
right?
the
You
only
did something.
reason why they want it, dude. This guy went here. Because I was working at a job in Fort Mac one time, and I wanted to go home. We were told if we could finish this job by a certain time, we're able to drive home, we could leave. But if we didn't meet that time requirement, we had to stay the night.
Yeah.
Waste the day off driving. And so the surveyor wanted to go home, or wanted to go for lunch. Sorry. The surveyor wanted to go for lunch. And we were like, no, come on, man, we got to get this done. Right. And I'm like, show me, give me a crash course on how you operate this thing here. And you go for lunch. He took 20 minutes out, showed me how to use it. He went for lunch, came back, and he's like, oh, you probably fucked up. He fucking put his thing on there. He did his magic. He read it all. He's like, oh man, it's like, you got it. You nailed it. He's like, what I went to school for 4 years for, you learn in 20 minutes.
Isn't that funny?
Dude, it's not fucking hard, man. I want to go home. It's amazing what you can do with fucking will in a way, right?
Yeah, and people don't recognize. I get a lot of people, I get on here and I crunch numbers and I talk about what we're doing. And I get a lot of questions like, did you go to school for this? And it's like, no, I just have a couple years of experience, right? I had a couple guys that were like, this is how things work. This is how we do it. And this is why we do it. And I got really lucky with that. I didn't really ever go through that hazing process like on the rigs or whatever. I'd always bump into dudes that were genuinely just wanting to teach, because out here, it's a weird industry. We're not competing against each other. No. So if you have a guy next to you that's really good at his job, that makes your job easier. You're not having to pick up, and it is incentivized to teach people that are around you how to do things. Yeah. And a lot of people just have no idea about that. They're like, oh, they had to go learn this.
Many hands make light work, right? Like,
exactly.
I know when dispatch sends me out on a job and I see the dispatch who I'm working with, it's either nice or it's either fuck, right? Like, because I know when it's a fuck, I know I'm about to be the only one doing all the work here today. I know that like this guy is good. He doesn't know what he's doing all that well, and maybe he doesn't want to know. And I'm going to be struggling all night long to get this done on my own, right?
Yeah.
Or it's like this guy here, he's going to be right in there alongside me. I'm not even going to have to ask him for anything. He's not going to have to ask me for anything. We're just going to know where we're at, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to go. And sometimes that guy that doesn't know what he's doing, he wants to learn. So like, you're like, oh, okay, well, you know what? Like, fuck, I'm going to have to do most of it. But he's gonna be watching and he's gonna pick up on it. So later on down the line, when I see that I'm out with him, I could be like, nice, nailed it, right?
Yeah.
Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. And I try to preach that to young guys, especially getting out into the industry. I'm like, dude, show up, want to work, and ask questions. Yeah. That is what built my entire career. I showed up. I worked night shift for most of my career. So in the morning, because I was alone on night shift all night. And then I get in the morning, you'd have a crew of guys show up. Anytime I heard, oh man, I got this filter I'm going to have to change tomorrow, I'd be like, okay, I'm staying until tomorrow. Like I'm staying until their shift starts. I'm going to go help them change that filter. I lend a hand and I ask questions, usually after the work. I'd be like, you point whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. And afterwards, I'm going to ask you about what had just happened and why it happened. And I'd always show up with food. I'd show up with that currency, those West Texas breakfast burritos, man. And dude, there were so many people that they would start calling me. Hey, Kody, I'm pulling inlet coalescer filters tomorrow. You want to show up? Yeah. And I'm going to show up with food, and I'm going to be out there trying to learn. And that was my entire career. And that's what I always appreciate. I told a story on my live stream last night. I had a guy replacing a glycol pump just a couple weeks ago, and real young guy, like probably just got out of high school. And he walked up to me. He's like, hey, what does this glycol pump do? And I'm sitting there trying to purge it of air and everything so we can get our system going. And I was like, you give me just a second. I'm going to walk you through everything. And I took this guy and started at the compressors, walked all the way around, our inlet, our discharge, how the dehy system plays into everything. And that's because I was that guy. Just a few years ago, I was that guy. I had no idea what anything was doing. to this day, I walk up on some sites and I'm like, that's a vessel, but I have no idea what it does. And I start asking questions.
Yep. I made a video a couple years ago. It was like, it starts off like, here, right here is everything you need to know. Just ask, right? And it's like when the guy above you tells you to ask questions, and you're like, and then it transitioned to me being like, excuse me, and then the guy said, in a minute, like, like, no, like, don't ask questions here, bud, and like it's just funny because we get things like that too, right? Like, oh, don't be afraid to ask questions, and then it's like there is no such thing as a stupid question, and then it's like, oh, that's a stupid question. Right? Like, I had a guy, and I told it on last week's episode of the podcast where just before Christmas, brand new green hat, didn't know what was what, and he was saying he's like, what, I when I got a job in the oil patch and I applied for here, he's a well tester, right? And he's like, oh, he's like, I half expected to come out here and see oil rigs everywhere, and I haven't seen one yet. And I'm like, well, bud, today's your lucky day, because just over the tree line was a drill rig, and you could see the stand up in the air, and the light was going and everything. And I'm like, see that right there? And I'm like, yeah, that. He said, yeah. I'm like, that drill rig was on this spot here, right? You guys come in after that rig is done, and you frack. And then he goes over there, he drills that pad for a few months, and when you guys are done here, you're going over there, right? When he's done. And he was so grateful. But at first, I didn't realize that he was that green. So when he was asking all these questions, I was kind of getting annoyed at first, right? I'm like, there's no way you're this. I never said it, but like, there's no way you've ever seen this or that. And then he's like, yeah, man, I'm brand new. I've been here 4 days. I'm like,
and he was hired. That's the big part that I'd like to point out. You're out there and they are training you on the job. Yeah. And a lot of people have no idea how that works.
Yeah.
You get out there and you don't know what's happening. I cannot tell you how many times I got a new job and I stepped out into that gas plant and I was like, oh, I'm in for a world of hurt having to learn this.
Yeah. And it turns out, man, when I got on the vac truck, same thing. Here 7 years, here 8 years this year. When I got here, I'm like, oh man, this seems all really technical. I got to learn all this shit. I don't know what I'm doing. Man, I learned it in 2 days, 3 days, right? Yeah. And no, not completely learn it. I learned what buttons to press, when to press them, and how to it. That took a long time, adjusting your pressure and adjusting, like how to make steam and whatnot. And like, it was all fine and dandy, saying that, hey, it took me 2 or 3 days to learn this, but really, I've been here 8 years and I've not learned everything. There are a lot of times where we're called out and they get another touchdown. A lot of times where I'm called out and the consultant's like, hey, I need this. And it's like, fuck, how am I going to do this? All right. I have never done that before. All right. We'll take things that I've done on that job, things I've done on that job, combine them all together. Let's create a new skill today. Right. Yeah. And you get like one of those PlayStation achievement things unlocked. And then
right. Like a level up.
Yeah. Or you that's fuck it up and there's a whole new other level up. Right. Like,
yeah, I think experience is a weird thing in this industry because you have people, especially like with what I do, like your operating stations or lease operator or something. You can have a guy that has 10 years of experience and doesn't know a damn thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's never had to fix anything. He has his routine. He knows what to do every day. But the second there's a hiccup, he's clueless. And then you can have a guy that, has a couple months and he knows how to fix it because he's seen it. And that was actually one of my first, I have 2 nicknames here. The first one was dog years because I showed up and I saw so much bad stuff at first that I had dog years of experience, right? I had a year of experience, but it was really like 7. So I was out operating other guys because I had seen it, I had fixed it. And then my second one was pipe wrench Kody. I ended up snapping like 2 or 3 pipe wrenches throughout my career so far here.
Nice.
Just pulling on valves or whatever. But yeah, experience is a weird thing. And it's really quick to pick up that routine. I could tell you how to start a compressor from like the first week. But after that, it was, okay, it's making a funny noise. Why is that? Right. Or it's doing this thing. Why is that? Why is my RPM swinging, a couple hundred here and there? And now I know, I'm going to go check my fuel. Oh, my fuel looks weird. I'm going to go check my fuel skid. If my fuel skid looks weird, it's possibly my DI. You start adding these things onto your resume, right? You start putting little tidbits of knowledge in your pocket. And that's real experience out here. I could care less how many years you've worked. What have you fixed? Like, what all have you done?
Yep. Turns out most things can be fixed by hitting it with a hammer.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, ain't it?
It's like, oh man, hey, the mechanic. I made a video about that the other day, man. You know, I used the cap cut fucking thing where the girl's beating it with a baseball bat, and it's like when the mechanic shows up and wonders how you fixed it before he even got there, and it's just the girl beating on it with a bat, right? And I was like, where's the hammer at, bro? You know, like Carl, the Tired and Frozen. He was on the podcast back in the early days, and he said, you know, I never really realized how many things you could just fix with a hammer. Right. And he's like, I took the truck in 3 days in a row to look at the mechanic to look at it. And every time I asked him, like, well, how'd you do it? Just hit it with a hammer.
You know? Yeah, it's fascinating. I had a very similar TikTok not too long ago that blew up. I was talking about mechanics. I said they're my favorite great ape species. Yeah. Because when I first started out here, you know, I was so used to a really big company. And then I went to one that was a smaller private asset, right? So things were run a little bit differently. And I showed up and I was having this issue. And I said, man, it keeps going down on the scrubber level. I'm having issues getting it back up. I was like, but I don't know if there's actually liquids in there. I was like, it doesn't make any sense. There's no liquids. I'm not getting pressure leaving, whatever. And he was like, hold on a second. He starts digging in the dirt and picks up a rock. And he puts it in between the keel, cranks up the unit, gets pressure on it, and we open it up. And there wasn't liquids. There's an electrical failure. But that's how we found out was with a rock. And I've seen that dude show up so many times. And, you know, he taps it with the crescent, taps it with a little rubber mallet, and all of a sudden the solenoid's working. And you're good to go, right?
It's like I made that video one time too, man. It's like, remember when we were kids and how, like, you know, you'd hit something to make it work, right? And I was like, well, you know what, like, remember back in the 90s when you just hit things to make them work? And I'm just like, well, my dad used to hit my mom and she never went back to work, right? Like, it was like, fuck, it was like, that's dark, bro. And I'm like,
results may vary.
Yeah. Do not try this at home.
It's interesting.
I went to a different company last year, right? I left here for the first time in 7 years, and I went over there, and that's where I broke my ankle. They tossed me away like a fucking bag of trash after I got hurt, you know, as companies do. And I came back here. But when I didn't know if I could leave here, right? Is why I stayed here. So I didn't know if I could leave. I didn't know if I'd make it out somewhere else, right? And I had to leave to realize that I can. I just don't want to, right? Like, I like it here. Over there, man, I made it work and shit like that, and it was good. I had more experience than the other guys there because they were all like pretty new to the oil patch, right? And so I had more experience, and it was pretty cool to watch, actually, how, like, you know, something go wrong for this guy, and I'd come over and I'd just like, no, I gotta do this, right? And it would just work. And I'm like, bro, how the fuck did I do that, right? Like, is it me? Am I Jesus? You know, like, holy fuck. And then there were a couple things I couldn't fix, but the mechanic came over and he's just like, yeah, man. He showed me, he's like, whenever this happens, I can't get here on time, you know, try all this stuff. Right. So, you know, after a few weeks or a few times of, you know, trying that kind of stuff and seeing what worked and what didn't work, I knew how to fix the issues for the most part that we were having and didn't need to call the mechanic. Buddy fucking spent $60,000 on new parts for the thing. It wasn't even anything to do with any of the parts he replaced.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh, man, it's the sensor. It's dirty, right? He's just fucking clean. It worked.
Something real simple, right? It always is.
Yeah, man. It was crazy, man. The company blew through $60,000 before they realized, oh, that's not what the problem was. Well, at least there's new parts on there.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, you don't realize how much money is flying around with all these parts and everything. Like, you can out here, it's a weird industry because you got a bunch of guys that graduated high school and you can fit in the palm of your hand something that, you know, is worth almost $1 million.
Yeah.
Like, I carry an O2 analyzer in my truck. That's like $100,000. And it's rattling around in the back of my truck like it's nothing, right? And just those little sensors in there can be, you know, tens of thousands of dollars. And it's a weird industry because you're like, oh yeah, I just need to replace these filters. Well, that just ran the company $27,000.
Yeah. Well, every time we blow a blower on a back truck's $20,000.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, it's insane.
Every time something blows up on the back truck, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Right? And there's shit breaking on a back truck all the time. Right? Mainly my will to live, but, you know.
I hear that, dude. I hear that.
Hey, do you know what viscosity is?
I believe so. Isn't that? Oh, I can't find I think I know what it is.
Yeah. What do you think it is?
It has something to do with like the density. No, it's with liquids. Hold on.
Oh, he's Googling it. Oh,
I am. 2 monitors, dude. 2 fluid layer. Okay, yeah, they move relative to each other. Friction force develops between them, and slower layer acts to slow down the faster. It's like, okay, so it's basically friction between 2 different liquids.
Sure. So where I'm
Okay.
going is the Mudman. The podcast is sponsored by the Mudman, and the
Okay.
Mudman deals in the viscosity of fluid. You know, the density, the viscous.
Yeah.
The viscousness of fluid on the rigs, right? And so, for all your drilling fluid and laboratory testing equipment needs, the Mudman basically deals in the thickness of
There you go.
right? How thick is your load, Kody?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, hey, man. Hey, as a man in my mid-30s, dude, coming out of my 30s, men in their mid-30s will never have thicker loads than they do right now. It's wild. Yeah. Yeah. So the Mudman, he had my back on the podcast when the podcast first started out. I was having all kinds of issues with sound and distortion and hearing and whatnot. And so he hooked us up with a mic and a headset, which I no longer use because 2 summers ago, he hooked us up with the MacBook Pro. So we could edit, and now I record on there, and the headset and the mic are no longer needed due to the speakers and the camera and whatnot on this MacBook.
That's impressive coming from a laptop.
Dude, it's
I
great.
figured you had a mic or something sitting in front of you because I got mine right here.
There's nothing here. Nothing here, man. It's been a pretty incredible ride, watching the evolution of the podcast and whatnot. And the Mudman's been a big part of that. So, yeah,
that's awesome.
That guy. For www.mudmanmarket.com. I love that guy, man. First sponsor the podcast ever had and remains to be one of the most important, So, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's always awesome to have people that see everything early and they're able to get in there and help you out.
Absolutely. There's another guy that sponsors the podcast. He's a drilling consultant, right? And I wasn't going to talk about it yet, but he would have been there earlier, but like he discovered it later, right? So he likes the podcast direction with mental health and how we talk about it and how, I get the men and women that come on the podcast, heavily involved in the mental health aspect of it and how I'm very open about mine. And he wanted to help out any way he could. And last summer here, he sponsored the podcast with a Starlink because we were having troubles when we were out in the bush or in towns with no cell service or at hotels and whatnot. And so, for the most part now, I run everything off the Starlink. So shout out to Tracy from CRM. Yeah. Tracy.
There you go.
Resource management. Yeah. I love that guy, man.
The Starlinks are pretty cool, man.
They are, man. They're. I just got a new rack for it or whatever the other day. So when that, I'll be able to put that rack to use tomorrow. But yeah, man, I love that guy, dude. Because mental health is crazy important, and he sees the value in that. So,
100%. Yeah, I just recently had a post that was talking about it a good bit. I think they found that the number one reason that men struggle so much and, they ended up taking their lives was because they felt useless. And I put a video out about that. And that you see that a lot in blue collar work. You see a lot out here in the oil field. You're gone for so long. I can't tell you how many guys I bump into, right? They haven't seen their kids in forever. The ex-wife won't let him see the kids. He's just out there working and he feels useless. It's a very scary situation to be in. And you see it a lot out here. And so I put out a video not too long ago talking about it. I was like, people need to be talking about this. I think it came off the Landman episode. I don't know if you saw it. There's a dude that took his life out there on the pad. Yeah. Yep. And I was like,
the exhaust into his truck and got hit by the hauler. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, man, that really should have been an entire episode talking about how important it was. And it was kind of just glossed over. And I was like, okay, I'll go talk about it then. I was like, that's okay.
Absolutely, man. Landman is become more of like a family drama than anything in season 2, dude. And yeah, that episode, man, it should have been a whole ass episode talking about the mental health side of the oil patch. Instead, they did touch on how dangerous H2S is, but like they kind of turned it into a clown show a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't really explained at all almost in the show, right? I had a lot of people that hit me up and they're like, dude, that seemed like magic to me because they didn't explain it, right? They didn't explain that it was a toxic gas that was invisible, but it's okay under certain ppms, right? You can be in it. And And they didn't explain that at all. And I wish they'd do a little bit deeper of a dive into some of the things that affect us out here. You know, number one, the mental health, some of the family stuff at home. I really want to see more of the field guys and how they're feeling. I think that's what people are there for, right?
Yeah.
But now it's a soap opera. It's its own thing. I understand it's got to be entertaining for people, but I think people would rather be introduced into a world they don't know than to be entertained with the stuff we see on Love Island, Australia.
Absolutely, man. And you know, like our industry is such a secret, right? For as big as it is, it's such a massive industry. Yeah. And it's such a secret because for the longest time, guys like you and me, we weren't allowed to have our phones out on site. We weren't allowed to talk about it. In the last 5 years, 6 years, when I started making content, they were kind of iffy about it. And then they started kind of becoming okay with it a little bit. As long as you don't show logos or anything like that, as long as you don't show anything dangerous or anything that's secretive that they don't want anyone else to know, they're fine with it, right? They're getting okay with it. Put your work above the content, but still, you know, when you get time, you know, show and talk about the industry a little bit because our industry is under a dark cloud, right? With, you know, global warming or climate change or whatever. And, you know, drugs, alcohol, the cheating, man, you get that everywhere. You get that at fucking Walmart, bro, you know? And like, I've never touched drugs. I don't drink, you know, I don't do that other shit. And, you know, a lot of people are quick to come to the comments and they're quick to be like, oh, you cheat on your wife and you're how do those rails taste, right? Or how do they smell? And it's like, bro, I don't know. And they're like, yeah, right, you're a crackhead. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I do know some for sure. I do know some, but I also know some that are fucking tech bros. You know what I mean? I also know some that work at Walmart. I know some that fucking, you know, don't even touch a fucking hammer or they're not even in blue collar at all, right?
Yes.
And it's a bad rap the industry gets. So a lot of people just, and as soon as they start seeing people talk about it, that's why it gets the views, right? Because it's like, oh, there's an industry we know nothing about other than what the media tells us.
Yeah. And the amount of people that, you know, they assume I work on a rig because, you know, I'm a pipeline technician and I tell people that and they're like, oh, this dude works on a rig because that's all I know, right? That's the bad rep. That is their grandpas and their uncles that fell off a rig in the late 80s, the 90s, and they're like, oh, this is the entire industry because my grandpa hates it because he fell off a rig and broke his back. And it's like, well, yeah, that's also way different now. Like everything's significantly different. And Midland and Odessa also still get a bad rep for these boom towns, right? Because that's what people view them as. And it's like, no, there's like 500,000 people here. It is an active city. It's really two cities that have combined, a Fort Worth and a Dallas, basically, just a little bit smaller.
Question: how long does it take to drive from Midland to Fort Worth? Because Tommy makes it look like it don't take long at all. I noticed,
like for him, it's 30 minutes.
I noticed this easy flying there a lot, though.
Yes, so it's about to Fort Worth. It's about 3.5 hours from here. To Dallas, like the other side of Dallas, you're talking about 5.5, possibly 6 hours, depending on traffic. And they're just going back and forth, and it does bother me as some, you know, just going to Odessa takes me 40 minutes.
Hey, I'm on my way to Fort Worth. Dad, can you come talk to me about my girl problem? Yes,
Corpus Christi.
Let me just turn around. He turns around, you know, like I'll just go back to Fort Worth after we have a conversation.
Yeah.
About how useless and dumb you are, you know? Like,
yeah, I think there was also a scene where they were in Fort Worth and he was like, which way are you going back to Midland? Through Lubbock? And it's like, no, why would you go like into Oklahoma, into Lubbock, and then down into Midland, Odessa? You would just take I-20 down. And it's the logistics of that show is fascinating. I don't think they know how Texas works.
I want to get a Landman on the podcast.
That'd be awesome.
I heard real Landman are boring though, and they're not. They you know, they don't deal with cartels and, you know, shit like that. And
it's very boring.
Yeah, I heard it's a very boring job, but I still want to get one on the podcast.
There's a lady on here that does content. I think her name's New Mexico Landman.
Okay.
Or Landwoman or something. I think that's her title. She changed it. But yeah, she's awesome. She's always in my lives and everything. I'd hit her up.
New Mexico Landwoman?
New Mexico Landwoman. I think that's her name.
Let's see this, man. I'm a Landwoman.
But she's been following me and commenting on my stuff like since I started.
Yeah, New Mexico. Yeah, there's nothing there. Shit, friends. No.
I'll have to find it and send it to you.
Mexico Land. Ooh. No, fuck, whatever. Yeah, fine. Send it to me. Send it to
All
me.
right, I will do. Will do.
Yeah, man. Dude. So a lot of your content, you talk about how you want to be retired from the oil field by a certain age.
Yeah, by 35. That's my
35.
goal.
So what? How is that going to happen? What are your plans for that?
It's a very non-traditional retirement, right? Like I'm not saving up the $1 million in the 401k, the Roth or whatever. The way I've always viewed retirement, because I don't think the Roth and the 401k are going to be able to do it anymore. I really don't know how the retirement works up there. Down here, it's kind of screwed up right now. There's a lot of people that are getting to like 50 years old, and they're like, dude, it's not going to be possible. Not going to be possible to retire anymore. And so I saw that back in high school. And I was like, okay, it's got to change. There's got to be something else that you can do. So I was like, what if I don't save up this large amount of money and I actually focus on getting cash flow month to month? So that's what I was like, okay, if I can do like $10,000 a month, I was like, then I'd be able to retire, right? That's my oil field check, take home 10 grand and boom, I'm now making what I make in the oil field and I still have the money to invest with that number. So I could retire, I could be done working, I have that income, and I still have the money to keep it going, right? Keep investing and keep increasing that. So that's my goal, is just to hit that point. And the way I went about it is the way that I try to preach to everybody, right? Find the lifestyle you want to live and then reverse engineer it by cost, right? If you want the big Florida mansion, you want the Lambo, how much does that cost month to month? Then take all of your money, shove it into assets until those assets can pay for the lifestyle. Then you're done. You got the lifestyle you want. And when those things are paid off, you still have money coming in.
Yeah.
So the way I kind of did, I was like $10,000 a month, started crunching numbers. I was like, yeah, stock market's great, crypto's great, all this stuff. And I was like, either one, I start a business, or two, I can get into real estate. And I picked real estate because I was like, I work in the oil field, get my lump sums of money, go on down payments, and make $500 a month per house. So my goal is, 10 houses, 10 years. Hopefully, what it's looking like is I'm gonna be able to do 2 or more houses per year based on some different loan options and stuff. So that was my goal, just buy a house every single year. It's changed a little bit. I originally thought I was going to buy a house 5% down, move into the next one, 5% down, move into the next one. And then I realized that moving sucks.
Yeah.
And I hated it, dude. I got the moving company. I had to pack everything up. I got here, had to unpack everything. And I was like, I don't want to do that again. I'll do it one more time into my dream home and I'm done. Never again. I will die in that house.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, what's next? And it changes from, 5% conventional loan here to 20% down, which it's a good chunk of money, but working in the oil field has allowed me to have the opportunity to do that. And at least do 1 or 2 houses per year, and then doing rehabs, you can kind of change the numbers and stuff. So that's the retirement plan. It's still doing the 401k. I'm looking into an IRA. I got to go backdoor Roth into a traditional now. So I'm still setting up those large lump sums of money, but I'm really, really focused on living below my means and investing everything to get cash flow month to month.
Is your last name actually Overcash?
Yeah, it is actually Overcash.
Okay, I thought you talk about the money side of things a lot, right? So I figured, you kind of worked it in there somehow.
No, it's funny because my real estate agent Brandon, we were walking through a house, and he said, "How'd you come up with that username, man?" And I was like, "What username?" He's like, "Overcash." I was like, "No, that's my last name, man."
No, that's a smart plan, dude. I like that. I don't know. Buying a house in Canada like every year, I think it's kind of impossible at this point.
It's a little different up there.
Yeah, it's expensive, man. Basically corporations own our houses now, right? They come in. If you get into a bidding war with someone over a house, you're basically in a bidding war with a company, like a corporation, and they're paying like sometimes double asking, right? And a lot of the time now, they're where I live, they're taking single family dwellings. They're knocking them down. They're on big chunks of land. The lots are pretty big. They're tearing them down. They're building fourplexes on there. And then they're selling the fourplexes for what that house was going to go for times 4. Right?
Yeah. That's what they're trying to stop that, I believe, down here. Or at least they're stopping large corporations like BlackRock and stuff from being able to own houses.
Yes.
I don't think it'll affect the LLCs and everything, your private investors, a whole lot. But I saw there's a statistic down here that Delaware Zach Realtor or something, Zach the Delaware Realtor, he's really big on here. Yeah, he's great. He has some really good opinions, and I love watching his like mathematical and economical videos. Right. So I was watching him, and he posted a picture that had a statistic that BlackRock only owned like 0.3% of houses. Right. And he was like, well, that wouldn't really affect a whole lot. And then it said investors, small time investors from houses 1 to 9 own like a huge majority of the housing in America. And I was like, that's a really skewed viewpoint, because one house is not an investor. That is somebody buying a house to live in. I was like, 2 houses. I know a lot of people with vacation homes, right? I was like, 3 houses, you're doing investments, because you can't go do any other loan past 2 houses without putting 20% down as an investment property. So I was like, 3 houses to 9 houses should really be the statistic. And then how many of those are held by those investors? I was like, that would have been a much better statistic to be looking at, rather than the 1 to 2, right? And then the big corporations, 9+ houses. But it is a large portion of them.
Vanguard owns a large portion too. You got Rock, Vanguard. How much is that? How much of that's Warren Buffett? But what about what's that? Look at Bill Gates, man. He's buying all the farmland.
Yeah, that's another thing I have a pretty heavy opinion on, because I come from a farming family in Kansas, right? We're like 4th generation, 5th generation farmers in that area. And to know that outside countries own U.S. farmland, like China owns a huge amount of U.S. farmland, that's so weird to me. And then you have politicians and people that are buying up farmland and they're not farming on it.
No,
that's an issue. I don't mind industrial farming if they're going to bring something to it, right? I always said, if McDonald's owned 50,000 acres, but they were doing studies on like vertical farming, they're going to put in these layers, they're going to have robots do it, I'm fine with that. That advances, the United States, that advances our society. But when it comes to, outside countries and politics buying up farmland and then not doing anything with it, that's spooky. It's very spooky.
Absolutely, man. Fuck yeah, dude. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, though, brother. I'm gonna go. The Eagles are winning now. Fuck.
All right, I'm gonna go turn it on.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Check out what the wife's up to and whatnot, and let you get back to your time there. But I got one more question to ask that I usually end the podcast with, and Mount Rushmore has 4 of the most influential people up on the rock, right? And if you could have your own Mount Rushmore, Kody Overcash's Mount Rushmore, who would they be? Like 4 people you look up to, inspired to be, or that you're inspired by?
Man, that is one hell of a question. 4 people. I'd have to throw my dad up there. I think my dad is probably the person I've looked up to my entire life. I'm very, very similar to my dad. And we have a lot of similar tendencies, which allowed me to kind of teach myself, hey, my dad's got some bad tendencies. I love him to death. He knows it. But I was like, those are things I can fix, right? And my dad has always pushed me to do better throughout my life. My dad's the only reason I'm out here in the oil field. He's the only reason I chose production over hopping on a rig. So my dad would be probably number 1. Outside of that, man, Theodore Roosevelt. Absolutely love him. I love his the way his mind works.
Keep him on the rock. I think he's on the rock.
I believe so. I think so. I'd have to go look.
I'm pretty sure Teddy Roosevelt's on the rock.
Yeah, so he'd be up there. I'd say Robin Williams.
Fuck yeah.
I absolutely love Robin Williams.
He played Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, he did at Night at the Museum. Yeah, and man, that number 4 spot, that one's tough. That one's really tough because there's a whole bunch of people I'd love to throw up there. But I'll go with Eric Berry, the safety from the Chiefs. Very strong.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he got Hodgkin's lymphoma, came back from it, and he preaches that just push through everything, push through adversity, fight through it. Very strong. And seeing him come back from cancer and play in the NFL again, even though it was just a short amount of time, that's very inspiring to me. And I love that dude.
I love that, man. Fuck yeah. Do you know anything about Mount Rushmore, man? Like, do you know anything about Teddy Roosevelt? Do you know the whole story behind? You know everything about Teddy?
Not everything, right? I have he has a diary and everything
Yeah,
that is, you can go buy that. It's a public book now, and
I
a
think
lot of autobiographies and stuff, and I have those. Yeah.
I think Teddy Roosevelt's a man amongst men, right? A giant amongst
Yes.
men, like
100%.
one of the last greats, in
He had a
politics.
spine, and that's what I love.
Yeah,
He
man.
stood up for everything.
The guy fought, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he fought.
Yes. Yeah, he was in the military on the
And
cavalry.
then he sent his kids. They were like, "Hey, you can go to war too." Didn't he lose some kids to in war?
I believe so. Didn't he have a son?
Yeah, he did.
I know
Yeah,
he had a daughter, and then his mother and his wife both passed away on the same day, right before Valentine's Day, I believe.
that's brutal, man.
Yeah.
I have an episode called Teddy actually, and it's with Chase from Edison Motors up here in Canada,
Mhm.
and he had Teddy Roosevelt on his Mount Rushmore, and he
Really?
went through like the entire fucking like the last like that question when he put a Teddy on his rock. He went through everything great about Teddy Roosevelt. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I gotta call the episode Teddy now, right? So
Dude,
like,
he's awesome, man.
yeah, dude. Yeah, man. Teddy
Yeah.
Roosevelt is pretty badass, man. Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the last guys that really, really had a spine, stood up for everything, and I always appreciate people that want to make the area around them better, whether that be people, whether that be the United States, Canada, whatever. You look around you and you're like, I can make a difference, and I'm going to. And he had his passions, hunting, the outdoors, and he turned that into the national parks and so on. But it was always inspiring to see that.
Fucking San Francisco just got a field goal. It's 13-10 for the Eagles now.
Close game.
Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. It's second quarter right now. So we're almost at halftime.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I'll go turn that on. Try to enjoy the game for a little bit.
Hell yeah, brother. Hey, man, where can people find you on the socials, man?
Kody Overcash, just about everywhere. You can find 2 accounts on TikTok. Watch out for the fake ones. Mine have a link tree that lead to the other ones. Kody Overcash on Instagram, Kody Overcash on YouTube. So
I managed to get rid of the fake accounts on TikTok and Facebook. So far, I don't know if any more have popped up, but I managed.
How did you do that?
I reporting everywhere. I got everyone else to report, man, and
yeah,
stopped. Man, good for them though, because like they had less followers than me, but their views were outstanding.
I got one with more followers than me. 127,000 followers, and he's not just stealing my content, he's actively trying to be me, which is really weird. Like he's like conversating with people back and forth and like flirting with girls, and I'm like, that's not me.
Man, a real what's his name, Buffalo Bill, man, he's trying to get in your screen.
Yeah, it's very odd.
Yeah, that's wild, man. The guy who was trying to be me on, I think, TikTok, he had way less followers, but he was trying to get people to invest money with him in barrels of oil or something like that. And I'm like, trust me, that's nothing you'll ever hear coming from me. Right? Like, don't believe in that. Yeah.
Which
man.
is the downside of my content, that I talk about investing and then this person hits him up about crypto.
Yeah.
And people message me, hey, we were just talking. I'm like, I promise you we were not.
Yeah, trust me, that wasn't me, bro. I'm trying to get Mr. Global on the podcast too. I've been
he's
going after him for a couple years there. I really like where he's going right now with the Venezuela thing. He said something really interesting the other day about how Venezuelan oil won't replace Canada oil yet, right? Not for a long time. Like the Americans have billions invested in the Canadian infrastructure that they would have to then turn around and pull their money out and dump in over there. And it just doesn't, it's not economically feasible right now, right? That's tomorrow's problem, right?
Yeah, and it's a very different, I was explaining this in my live stream, it's a very different type of oil. I don't think people realize that there's differences between the oil, right? Like a lot of the U.S. Refineries are built for this heavy sulfuric crude oil. And we ship out all of our stuff overseas, and people get mad. Oh, the U.S. shipped everything, and then they're importing Middle Eastern oil. It's like, yeah, because there's a difference. It's 2 different products. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And there's a difference between Canada and Venezuela when it comes to that product.
Do you know why Venezuela has the most amount of oil reserves in the world?
No, I have no idea.
Okay, so before Maduro, oil was not that there wasn't that much oil in Venezuela, right? Like oil was very, very low, right?
Yeah.
After Maduro took power, And if you, it's, and we'll get into this in a second. After Maduro took power, okay, he went out and he said, "Oh no, I have this much oil, right? We have this much oil," and nobody checks. They just take your word for it, right? It's just like, no, we have this much oil, and no one comes over and tests. They just say, "Oh, okay, so he must know what he's talking about then." So then they jot it down. Venezuela is now the leading. Why do they have the most in the world? This country is literally this big. What the fuck?
I would have to look into that a bit more.
Look at the country, the countries around them. They're small, right? And then you got the U.S. Why does the U.S., which is like way bigger, Canada way bigger, Russia way bigger, why don't they have way more, right?
Yeah.
Why would Venezuela be number one? We're basically saying Venezuela is number one because Maduro said so, and we just took his word for it.
That's interesting. Yeah, I have to go like look at their basins and everything. I haven't done a whole lot of research on it, but that's something you see a lot with these geopolitics when it comes to oil and gas, is that it's all power, right? Oil is power. That is your first world country. That is your military. And when OPEC comes out and says, "Oh, we're doing all this stuff," and then the numbers don't show that.
No.
Right? So they're doing all this barking and no biting, and the U.S. does it, and Venezuela does it. Everybody does it. And it's a show of power, right? It's I get on here and say I can bench 300 pounds.
Everyone's like, "Oh, yeah." But people aren't going to be like, "That guy can't do that," unless you prove it. But like, so everyone's all up in arms about, "Oh, he's after the oil." Yeah, dude, not the 6 billion cubic feet of gold.
Yeah, that's a big one, right? That's a big one.
Yeah. Look at and also Venezuela is part of BRICS, or was part of BRICS, right? Like look at that. You know, it has nothing to do with wanting to own the Western Hemisphere and not having an oil state, a petrol state on the U.S. dollar, right?
Yeah, trying to return to that, right? Because we got taken off that. The Middle East went away from the U.S. dollar being the oil dollar, which tanked a lot of stuff. You wonder why inflation's so bad down here and everything, and all the markets are kind of iffy right now, and it's because the U.S. came off the oil dollar. We can't measure it properly right at the moment. And I'm real big into the finances and the economic side of things, and the gold is very interesting because I do believe there's going to be some type of reset coming up, and gold's going to play a part, just like when they bought the gold back and revalued it, right? Came in at like $6, got it up to 40 or something like that. I believe that was the last reset, and since then it's just been climbing to almost $5,000 now.
It's crazy.
There's going to have to be a reset.
Crazy. Yeah, I got that thing about Venezuela though, just saying, "Hey, we have this much," and they just took his word from it. I got that from Mr. Global. You look into that, right?
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Yeah, I like Mr. Global's videos, man. And I've been really pushing to get him on the podcast for a while.
Yeah, he's jumped in there a couple times in our live streams. You know, a handful of us will get on there, Jorge, Carly, Eli, and I, and we just sitting there talking. All of a sudden, Mr. Global will pop up. And, you know, the live streams go from like 10 people to hundreds of people and so many comments. He's a cool dude, man. I've had a handful of conversations with him, and his route through the oil field and getting into management and owning businesses and everything was very, very interesting.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, dude. Man, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man. This has been a lot of fun, man. We'll get you back on, man. I like talking.
Hey, sounds good.
And this has been my baby. We're on year 3. This is year 3 of the podcast, man.
It's crazy. Yeah, I saw there's like a huge amount of episodes.
Well, this will be 160. This will be episode 160.
That's insane, man.
160 straight episodes, dude. That's without missing a beat. And I thought I was gonna miss a beat 2 weeks ago, the first episode of the year. I was really busy at work, and I couldn't get on with anyone. We'd make plans. I'd make plans with a couple other people. Wouldn't work. And then I put out a solo episode. You know, I got to do more of that in 2026. On year 3 of the podcast, man, I got to have more solo episodes. So yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. Hey, thanks for being a part of not even season. I don't even do seasons. Thanks for being a part of year 3, man.
Hey, I appreciate you inviting me on. It's sorry we didn't do this earlier. You know, you had shot me that message, but I'm glad I'm here now.
I've been waiting for some people for all 3 years to come on. I've been waiting for some people for 2, and I've been, you know, it works out when it works out. The podcast isn't going anywhere. I'll keep trying eventually until I get someone.
Absolutely.
So like it doesn't matter. Hey, remind me to tell you a joke when we stop recording here. I'm not gonna tell it on here. So
okay.
If anybody wants to know what the joke was, message me somewhere else.
There you go.
Well, man, thanks for coming on the podcast, bro.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Kody, stay frosty, bro.
All right, you too, brother.